Wahahaha! Welcome to the video. Sometimes you just need an adventure in life. Sometimes this urge for adventure can be fulfilled with a good video game. Graphics are becoming increasingly more lifelike, and the worlds are open and seemingly never-ending. The problem is, not all of these modern games appeal, and we don't always have the time to explore these gigantic worlds due to the realities of life. This is where retro games come in handy. They provide an escape and can be experienced in full within anything between 30 minutes to a couple of hours. Though as much as I do love retro games, sometimes I feel as if I'm living in the past, completing the same retro games I am comfortable with over and over. This is a feeling you can easily experience with your personal life too. I wanted to look forward and escape my zone of comfort, while simultaneously taking solace in something somewhat nostalgic. The truth is, this adventure that I had planned was something more than just simply wanting to play a game that I'd never played before. Ultimately, playing a game is for fun, but the competitive side of me wanted to dedicate time to learning, mastering and conquering something within a month. I wasn't content just playing a game for fun. I required a test of fortitude. I pondered what this could be for a short while. Flicking on my brother's SNES Mini while visiting his house, I scrolled through the games on offer. Contra 3? I finished that on hard mode. Super Mario World? I finished that 100% more times than I can remember. Super Castlevania 4? Already played it this year. Super Ghouls and Ghosts? Never dared to play it. So that is what I decided to do, without any real thought. I wasn't really looking for it, but I had found it. I had very limited experience with this game. I was just aware that it was notoriously hard, and I'd witnessed my brother die on an unrelenting amount of times on it back in the 90s. A fire in my stomach erupted. I am gonna do this. I opened the options menu to see what the deal was. An otherwise simple black option menu with an obscurely over-elaborate and majestic blue winding vine design with red gems adorning the screen's edges. Strangely beautiful for a game that is so willing to chew you up and spit you out, even on its normal difficulty. Almost like an alluring treasure which, once taken, would trigger a hellish trap. Even the normal difficulty gives a majority of people grief. So to my surprise, there was a hard and professional difficulty too. What maniac would ever try that? Isn't the punishing normal difficulty enough? Apparently, it wouldn't be for me, and so the journey begins. On normal difficulty, anyway. The game, infamous for sending you right back to the beginning in order to complete it for a second time to get the true ending, begins in the classic Ghouls and Ghosts graveyard stage. You know, the stage 90% of people attempting to play this game give up on. Despite it being one of the earliest games by Capcom on the SNES, the pixel art looks fantastic and the music is absolutely haunting. In fact, it was composed by a female composer called Miri Yamaguchi. She also did the soundtrack for Mickey Mouse's Magical Quest. Strangely, as different as the games may be, they share very distinct sound, and I came to the conclusion long ago that the same composer must have been involved. Mary has a way of painting the haunting landscapes of the frozen forests and stormy seas with sweeping, mysterious melodies, while conjuring up a sense of dark, menacing evil and urgency in the third stage's fire dungeon, full of flames and bloodied spikes. There is always a sense of something foreboding or mystical. The soundtrack is one that did not hit me as immediately as other games. However, the soundtrack began to really become highlighted during the trials and tribulations of completing the game. Remember, we were going to die a lot playing this game, so we needed music that would be cast upon our minds in a residual way, as opposed to a quick, fast jingle which could become increasingly annoying with each restart. To cut a long story shorter, I completed both loops of Ghouls and Ghosts. That means I finished each of the 7 stages twice, back to back, and killed the final enemy with the coveted Goddess bracelet. The bracelet is an absolute requirement for finishing the game in its truest sense, and the main reason you are sent back to the start in order for the weapon to spawn. It will not appear in playthrough 1. The problem is, I had cheated. I had used save states from start to finish, and I felt no sense of accomplishment. I needed to go back, and this time do it for real, with knowledge of the game in mind. My first step was to watch a couple of speedruns of the game to hear any potential commentary tips to provide assistance in understanding how the game actually worked mechanics wise. Nail the mechanics and you'll nail the game. I studied how to get various treasure chests to spawn. Some chests require the player, the grey armour clad Knight Arthur, to jump into some precarious locations in order to make them appear. A concept I had no idea about previously. The chests are vital to your success, and there is a specific cycle of which weapons, armour and traps spawn from them. I found this to be a large part of the battle, and once you have this concept under wraps, the game becomes a lot more manageable. Arthur can acquire 2 armour power-ups, the first being the bronze green armour, which will upgrade your current weapon firepower. The second is the golden armour, which allows you to hold down the button in order to charge your weapon, unleashing a special unique ability, one for each weapon. With that said, here is a tip for all of you. The dagger with the golden armour is the absolute best weapon in the game, and the speedrunner's imperative choice. The second weapon of use is the crossbow, upgraded to at least the green armour, which is ideal for any casual player just wanting to achieve victory, as it grants a homing ability. When in gold armour, the charge up function for this weapon will make any hidden chest appear on the screen. The rest of the weapons are essentially garbage. The jumping in this game is also a mechanic that needs some practice. Once you commit to a jump, your character is locked going in that direction for the duration of it. Thankfully, Arthur has access to a double jump. Pressing another direction as you perform this will allow you to manoeuvre elsewhere, though you will be committed into this jump too. Here is a secret for you too. If you press the attack button at the peak of your double jump, you will actually fire out a slightly stronger projectile, useful for boss killing. So lots of quick double jumps and dagger crossbow spamming is ideal. Now that the table is set on how the game mechanics work, I dived back into normal mode and I decided I would complete the game, but only allow myself to save state at the start of each level. I completed both loops of the game using this method as practice. Still no sense of achievement, but a wave of confidence had been born. I no longer felt the need to save in between each stage. I was finally prepared to play this game the real way. With my newfound knowledge of the treasure chest spawns and confidence, it was time to complete the game on normal difficulty with no save states. So off I went, collecting as many money bags as I could along the way, as they would provide you with an extra continue should you collect enough. Oh yes, continues are limited. The giant flying beaked monster of the first stage went down without a fight. I endured the 4-minute side-scrolling perils of the second stage's stormy haunted ship graveyard as my raft wavered over the thundering rotten seas. I hesitantly made my way through the callous and menacing jumps across lava pits onto spindly platforms, only to be greeted by the Mongolian deathworm's third cousin at the end of stage 3. I survived the slime-covered, convulsing, winding and rotating Mode 7 guts of a giant beast, confronting the Hydra at the end of the stage 4. Then I hiked a majestic avalanche-filled frozen forest full of pulsating purple fruits. All that before arriving at the final castle and entering its most inner sanctum. Then of course I had to do it all over again and reach the ultimate final boss. After having conquered the final boss, I had finally completed the game as it was intended, with no save stating along the way. It was a challenge, and there were indeed a learning curve. However, With all the acquired skill, I felt at a loss yet again. Isn't there a professional mode? I reminded myself. I had a passion with this new ability to complete the game the real way, and now I wanted to test myself to the maximum. As a side note, despite the whole game being quite taxing, I would like to shine a special spotlight onto stage 4, the Ghouls' stomach. Standing on a side-scrolling platform as obnoxious geysers of Ghouls' stomach gases try to knock you off to your death down a bottomless pit can be brutal. In fact, I'd say this is the most daunting stage. The third stage, the Crucible of Flame, which begins in the Fire Dungeon, is a close runner-up. The Frozen Forest, stage 5, while not without its trials, is almost like a walk in the park compared to stage 4. The game can be finished by a skilled casual player within an hour or two. Speedrunners can finish both playthroughs within 45 minutes. After a brief break, the urge to complete professional mode became too much. Arthur, once again, pulled on his armour over his boxer shorts. I went directly to professional mode, skipping hard mode. The bosses take more damage and some of the enemies walk a bit faster, and honestly, that's about it. With either the crossbow or the dagger in hand, I conquered the first loop on pro mode pretty easily. It honestly was not that bad at all. The truest challenge exists on pro mode at the end of stage 7 on the second loop. You must fight through the stage and then reach the final boss, of which there are 2, with the gold armour and the goddess bracelet. Though powerful, the bracelet is only of use if you are in possession of it while suited up in the gold armour, as it maximises the weapon's range. This one aspect, range, is what is going to decide if you will get through the final 2 boss fights before being given access to the final true boss, Demon Emperor Sardius. This is the point where the game consumed an unaccountable amount of lives from me, as well as sapped my continue slowly. Though through dedication and patience I finally thwarted the enemies while adorned in the golden armour. It felt great, and I let out a huge sigh of relief, probably punched the air too. Even though I still had one final boss on stage 8 to defeat, I had no fear. The final boss is excruciatingly easy even on pro, probably a reward for all the sweat and blood it takes to get there. As Arthur and the princess trotted off on the horse together during the end credits, my quest to master this game came to an end. I'd finished a game that so many other people give up on, even if they feel fondness towards it. It had been a great month of putting myself through something new, and now I could say that Super Ghouls and Ghosts was one of my favourite SNES games, as opposed to just being that odd SNES game that's good but I've never really played. Now the game is up there with Super Castlevania 4 and Contra 3. To me, this was more than just finishing a game. It was an additional little exercise in perseverance and motivation. The thrill of slowly but surely progressing and applying what I had learned from studying the game's mechanics, and then putting the brain power into physical dexterity with my hands was something I thoroughly enjoyed. The sense of accomplishment was amazing. I genuinely believe that overall this game is not as hard as people claim. They just need to spend more time with it and face the fear of it. I am highly convinced I could coach a moderate gamer through this game, at least on default difficulty at this point. You can try Super Ghouls and Ghosts yourself on the Nintendo Switch's subscription service. I highly encourage you to finally sit down, concentrate, and stop letting the ghouls and ghosts scare you away. Learn the chest locations and use the crossbow with the gold armour to discover their locations. Collect the money bags to gain continues, but don't go for the risky ones. Play through the game first time using save states as you progress. Reload sections to learn them. Once you are better at the game, then play the game from the start to finish without save states. If you do not have time to sit and do 2 playthroughs back to back for the real ending, then save state at the start of loop 2. I consider this only being like pausing the game and returning to it later. This way it just saves on the electricity bill. Or perhaps you are just content completing one cycle. In addition, I wanted to get a tattoo for a long time, but I could never decide what of. As a result of this little journey, I decided to get a Super Ghouls and Ghost inspired tattoo. If you'd have told me in 2019 I'd cast aside modern games for a good portion of the year and focus on this game to complete it on the hardest setting and get a tattoo in relation to it, I wouldn't have believed you. It just goes to show that sometimes things can just pop up when you least expect it. From this experience, I unearthed something old and crafted something new. While I was sitting getting the tattoo done, the artist actually said that it looked like something from a retro game. It is. It's from Super Ghouls and Ghosts, I replied. I used to play that, he said. This is a video rendition of an article that I wrote a few years ago, and I received this comment on the post online, and I thought I would just add it at the end. It was obviously somebody that agreed with and enjoyed my view of the video game. I believe that this game is truly not as hard as people think, and you just need to sit down and put some time in with it, and I guarantee you will get through it. I promise you will get through it. With some practice, you will get through it. So, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like the video and maybe even subscribe if you'd like to see more videos in future from me. Take care everybody, and don't let the ghosts and the goblins get you.